We're here with another edition of the B4evaKool podcast. My name is Rex45. I'm here with Bobby Shakes.
Hello.
What's going on, brother man?
I'm all right. Just late night cake.
I like cake. Oh.
I love cake.
Mm. Well, it's been a long day, Bobby Shakes, as you know, and as you say, we're here late night, getting in the show before the next round of MotoGP.
Right.
Since we were last on, before the last time we were on together, they hadn't raced in Le Mans yet. You get a chance to check out Le Mans at all?
Well, I checked it out a little bit. See my boy guy take a little corner inside, got second place.
So were you saying you're Team 9-3 now?
I have to be. He's the old school. He's the only one that's left. The last of the Mohicans, they say. The last of the Mohicans. What a turn right there.
You know, I will say this. It's definitely looks like it's going to be a better way to go out than Rossi towards the end, because Rossi wasn't on a productive bike towards the tail end of his career. And not to say Marquez is at the tail end of his career, but, you know, hopefully Ducati will continue doing all the right things.
Rumors say he might get the factory seat.
Rumors, man. Rumors them spreading. You know, I already went on the show, the last episode, saying I think Bastianini should get it. I mean, I think he should keep the seat. He's, I believe he's third in the championship right now.
Right.
He's riding fairly well. He knows Pecco already. You know, the only downside is that Jorge Martin is finishing in front of him right now.
Right, but I heard he was going to go over to Aprilia.
Well, so there's rumors of Bastianini going to Aprilia. There's rumors of Jorge Martin going to Aprilia.
So there it is, a factory seat for 9-3.
Well, 9-3. Well, listen, we don't know because there's only one factory seat. So it's either going to be Bastianini or Jorge Martin if one of them go to Aprilia, right? So then I assume if Jorge Martin, depends who leave. If Bastianini, it may make sense for Bastianini to leave on one hand because he's third in the championship, and you know people want to get their contract settled before it gets too late, right? There's only so many seats available, so
and he will get the factory over to Aprilia, which would be a better branding for him as we move forward.
I think for Jorge Martin it'd be better. I think because Bastianini is I think already being on the factory seat and stuff like that. Not to say, I mean, Jorge Martin came in on Pramac, so he's since he's left Moto2, he's been with Ducati. But yeah, we'll see. They said they want to make a decision by Mugello, but it looks like those two guys are talking to Aprilia. I don't know if anybody's talking to KTM or not, but I mean, that might be another possible option, but I mean, does it make sense to leave Pedro on the red team for another season versus giving the factory seat to maybe give it to Jorge Martin? Because Jorge Martin was signed with KTM for the longest while until he came into MotoGP. That's when he broke with KTM to go on the duck.
Listen. You have to give the man his last flowers. I think that's the only way it needs to go. You give him the factory seat. He's only got about 2 years left in his career anyway. You give him the factory seat, returns back to 9-3. And that's just it.
So you're all team 9-3, Kool-Aid and all.
All right, I have to be because he's the last of the Mohicans. He's the last person that can actually bring fidelity to the sport. Right? He's the name that everybody knows. It's the last name. So because he's the last name, you have to make sure that he has the factory and he's carrying the torch. For how many years do you think he's got left?
He's 30. He probably got 5. I mean, Rossi went out at what, 40?
Yeah, Rossi was a different animal, though.
Well, you know,
Rossi's a different animal
Yeah,
than
yeah.
93. He is a different
Marquez is closely cut, but I think if Marquez is on a competitive bike and if he finishes until he falls out of the top 5, I
animal.
think
Right.
he'll probably still run.
Right. But I think it's just at this point now, it has to go to marketing. Like different sport, but when we talk about Lewis Hamilton now going to Ferrari, that's just right. We know he won't be able to win shit. It's like a marketing. We know that. It's over for him, right? At that age, at the G forces, it just deteriorates the body, right? The racing just deteriorates the body. So we know that. So he has to get the factory seat for Ducati and just bring it. He's only got maybe 2 years left at this level. At this level. This is a high level that he's at right now. He only has 2 years at this level.
So you think he'll stay with the 1,000cc bike, and then 2027 he retire at the end of 26?
Right, 2027. Then we bring somebody else in, and then we move on. Because then at that time now, the sport will be a new sport. It'll be a new redefined sport.
A little bit, yes.
Right? Yeah. So it's we're at the revelations, right? Let the man ride the white horse till the end.
Right.
Kick them off. 2027. Because everybody at that point now we're gonna have to redesign the bikes going down to 850 or 800 cc's. 850. Right. The gasoline tank now is going to be a little bit smaller.
I forget what kind of fuel they're going to use, but I think they got to use. It can't be.
Right, can't be the fuel using now.
I think they can't use fossil fuel.
Right.
Well, some Ducati fans are going to be upset with if Marquez get the factory seat, but I see what you're saying. If you can get LeBron James, Kobe Bryant, Michael Jordan,
right?
You know what I'm saying? You're gonna do it. It's more business for Ducati at the end of the day.
Right. It's all about you gotta sell the bikes.
Right.
And you just do final 2-year lap, 2 years. He's on his final lap. I love 93, but there's so much young talent right now, right? When you look at the standings, the standings right now are equal because the bike is so superior to everybody else. Right? So in 2027, it's not even going to even matter who it's going to be a new bike. The Duck is just so overpowered to everything else. So when we look at these standings, those things are skewed.
A little bit.
They're skewed. The bike's just out of control. Right? And they've been working on this bike now for a couple of years, and now they finally fine-tuned it. So we don't know what Yamaha's going to do. We don't know what Honda's going to do. We don't know what Aprilia's going to do. We only have 2 years anyway at this CC. So you might just give it to them, and we ride off into the sunset.
I think a few other riders got something to say. No, I get it, but I feel it's business, and there's only one seat available. And there's probably 4 guys, right? You got Bastianini who should retain it. You got Martin who's leading the championship. You got Marquez and Bezzecchi. He's going to come into his own.
Well, why wouldn't you think if you're leading the championship, why would you not want to go and sow your own seed with Aprilia?
Listen, man. It may come down to that because Jorge Martin and Aleix Espargaro are really good friends. So it may come down to that. But then, where's Aleix going to go? You know what I'm saying? If Jorge Martin, if that seat's available, maybe the seat's available already because Bastianini and Jorge Martin is talking to Aprilia, rumored. So, you know what I'm saying? So, and I can't see them giving up Vinales' seat at the moment because Vinales is doing fairly well. It seems like the only time Vinales is struggling is when the bike is struggling, not him. This season, anyway.
And 2027, so maybe Yamaha's gonna need somebody big to sit in their seat also. Because 2027, that's when the reset starts.
Well, they got your neighbor, Fabio Quartararo, with that nice hefty money. You know what I'm saying? And I think Rins is a rider that, these guys need seasoned riders that can get them bikes back up to speed before because I think they talk better to the engineers than the newer riders would, and so I think in a situation like those guys, they need seasoned riders to ride those bikes until they can get them to a place. But I think for Yamaha, Yamaha has to get two more bikes in there to play, right? I think just having the two bikes alone is bad for them, and it's hard. And granted, these guys they're laying everything on the line like they normally do, and they're in the middle of the pack right now. Definitely, the Yamaha is running better than Honda right now with the two bikes, but nonetheless, those guys need
Nonetheless,
two more bikes up there.
there's four guys. There's more iron guys, top riders than they are factories right now.
Right.
Right. I think a lot of those factories are going to have to steal 3 out of the 4. And then you got to give 9-3 to see the Ducati. And he just runs it for 2 years, and that's it.
Right.
Right. I mean, honestly, do you think the next 2 years of MotoGP is even valid, right? It's a throwaway year, right?
No. This is currently, to me, 2024 is one of the best years so far. And unless there's a bunch of accidents, I think 2025 is going to be even better. I mean, I think for Ducati and Aprilia and KTM, they got fewer changes that they need to make to get their bikes better. Chances are they're probably not going to introduce too new of a bike because they know it's going away.
It's going away.
So they're just going to fine tune what they have for the next two years. But for Honda and Yamaha, they still got to salvage something. You know what I'm saying?
I don't want to sound like I'm drinking the water, right? I don't want to sound. But I think the other factories have to make their move. They have to make the move. They have to secure a good rider. Get them comfortable. Get them in the building. Get them in around the developers. Start talking, and then we start to plan for 2027.
Right. Well, we shall see. We do know that right now there's only one rider coming up to MotoGP so far from Moto2. Maybe Joe Roberts may come up. Other than that, I think you're shuffling the deck into MotoGP, cards. And you're right. There could be some moving around, but again, like I said, I don't, Malaysia, Spargo, Taka Nakagami, that's it really. I don't see. I think Morbidelli still deserves a chance. I think Luca Marini. I've seen some stuff on social media. People talk about Luca Marini might be unhappy, but I think they knew the situation that they were getting into. So I don't really want to buy into some of the rumors that they're talking about as far as him not being happy. I think sometimes some folks out there in social media like to make stuff up for clickbait, that kind of thing. But I think his brothers Rossi, they're thinking long term. I don't believe they would have went through the situation, and they already know Marquez was eager to leave. So I don't think all of a sudden they're shocked that the Honda is not doing well and they're ready to abandon ship, tear up contract, that kind of thing. I think he's gonna ride it out. I think Mir might be a different story. I think that might be a different story. I think Mir should also stick it out, but he may be frustrated, and want a more competitive bike. But there's so many talented riders right now. Who are you gonna kick out?
Right, like I said, there's more riders than there are factories.
Yeah, no.
What do you think about Aprilia?
I'm a fan of Aprilia. I'm a fan of their bikes.
Honest opinion, not because you own one. Not because you own one. What do you think about Aprilia when you compare it to the Duck? Honest opinion.
I think certain tracks they have. Obviously, we saw what Maverick did. Certain tracks, when that bike is running well, they are a force to reckon with for a race win. For a championship, that's harder because I think they need to be more consistent at more tracks. And I think if they were more consistent at more tracks, even if they're finishing in the top 4, they got a chance for the title, right? But they'll finish 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then they'll start to drop down into the 8, 9, 10 kind of thing or crash out. So they've come a long way, right? Them and KTM have come, Ducati obviously is the first one to kind of get over the hump to challenge the. I guess they may have changed the game a little bit by changing, how the bikes look, and it was able to make those bikes run well by changing how it looked with the aerodynamics and those things. Honda was late to the game. Yamaha was late to the game. You saw when Leish, for years, when they were working that bike out, would crash and crash. What
Right.
Marquez didn't want to do, Elias did, and yes, they had different careers. Obviously, Marquez got titles, and so, but nonetheless, Elias did that, and now they got a bike that, arguably could be, it should be a top 6 bike. You know what I'm saying? I think between the two riders, if you add up the two riders' finish, it'll be a top 6-5 bikes. But individually, they're not consistent enough, to be that. Now Maverick, I think he's in. Let's see. Let me just double check to see where he dropped down. He's in 5th place right now, and Alicia's in 9th place right now. So you see what I'm saying? So he's there. They're already at that cusp of falling out of the top 5, and Bastianini hasn't figured out the bike completely yet. Di Giannantonio and Bezzecchi, they're starting to get quicker. You know what I'm saying? They you know what I'm saying? They're going forward, and those guys are not necessarily going backwards. But they got to stay consistent. I mean, we still got some rounds to go for sure, but it definitely got to stay consistent. Now, I will say, KTM. Now, their story is a little bit different because it seemed like the last round, pretty much everybody was struggling.
KTM.
I wouldn't say. I guess Pedro didn't struggle, but he crashed out. So,
but let's have a real conversation. Do we really think like the Duck is just a premier bike, right? So if we eliminate the Duck out of everything, right, we get ribbon 1, 2, 3, and 4.
Mm-hmm.
We have Aprilia at 5. But then we have Ducati again at 6 and 7. Oh, KTM, there's no space for KTM.
Well, I think they're hoping so with Pedro. I think they're hoping so with Brad. I feel like Acosta, and for some reason, Jack Miller, he's struggling lately. And I'm a fan of Jack Miller, and I say that all the time. And I feel one of those things like it's almost like you have to put like a disclaimer before I say something about Brad. But I his result, he's a better rider than his results, and for whatever reason, it just hasn't come together yet. So I feel like Brad is safe because he already got the long extended contract. Pedro's safe because he's a sensation, and Augusto Fernandez. I don't know if he's running into when you're supposed to be the man, you're supposed to be the number one, and somebody shows up and they're Michael Jordan in you essentially, or they're Kobe in you.
Right, you're just in the wrong. Yeah, you're in the wrong generation. That's what you say.
Yeah, exactly. You don't want to end up like Charles Barkley. You don't want to end up like Reggie Miller. You know what I'm saying? And I think for Acosta, that's the downside. And the bigger downside is that I don't know where he would go. You know what I'm saying? Because KTM riders, outside of Zarco, but he wasn't originally a KTM rider. But the other KTM riders, they left MotoGP. So
I just don't think the bike has anything.
It's there.
Right. Like I said, if you throw out the first 4, right, and you start first place at 5th place, you have Aprilia, Ducati. You have the binder it.
Right.
A binder it 1, 2, 3, 4 at 4th place.
Right.
And then at 5th place again will be the Aprilia and Ducati again, and then it starts all over again.
I see what you're saying. So KTM is in 3rd place when it comes to the manufacturers at the moment.
At the moment,
at the moment, and it's possible. who knows? The season's still early. The season's still early, so we're not even halfway through the season yet. So you know what I'm saying. Let's see. I think we'll see how the next few rounds shake out. I think the biggest thing I can tell so far, most of the problem is the engineers and the people putting the bike together. It doesn't seem like the riders
Right.
are
The riders.
struggling. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? In the past, some riders are hurt and that kind of thing, or they don't have the confidence, that kind of thing. I think what we're seeing is a lot of confident riders, and and again at that level, we're talking about a second, and a quarter. So you know what I'm saying? When you're looking at them numbers, it's not like these guys are bad riders, right?
No, no,
But
no, no.
but but when you're at that level, them little bit makes a difference.
Right. So when you look at it, when you look at Binder that's in the 8th place, he's 10 seconds. Then you have Ducati again at 7th, it's just at 9.8. Right. So that's just pin drop, right? When we talk about time.
Right, exactly. Um, so and I think after the last round with Jorge Martin, I don't know if he can continue doing what he's doing, because I think that's a very difficult space to be in, when you're fighting for a seat and your only option is to finish in first place. Second place isn't good enough.
Right. It's not.
Not for him. You know what I mean? And on one hand, yes, it looks good for Aprilia. If he wants to go to Aprilia, he might be able to sneak back to KTM. I shouldn't say sneak, but go back to KTM.
I
That
think
might
go
be
back to KTM would be a dead move. Sorry to cut you. I think it would be a dead move for him.
right. Yeah, it's possible. You know what I'm saying? So for him, he has no choice but to win it. And honestly, at this point in time, they got to make a decision by Mugello. I don't even know when Mugello is. I think Mugello is probably a couple of weeks away. So that the championship is not over in a couple of weeks. So
Right.
you know what I'm saying. So therefore, it's a tough decision for the head of June. Oh, that's a test. Where we at here for Mugello? That's interesting. There's a test.
I don't know.
It got to be around the 31st. Catalonia. Oh yeah,
I
yeah,
just
yeah, yeah, yeah. It's June 31st to. I'm sorry, it's May 31st to June 2nd. So pretty much at the end of the month.
end of the month. We have to see where we are.
End of the month. So and if Ducati doesn't pick Jorge Martin, think about this: you're fighting for the championship, and you don't get the seat that you think you deserve. How motivated are you going to go on to? How motivated are you going to be to continue to try to win out the championship towards the end? When you're at the end of the day, like I might win a championship with this bike, but I don't have the seat.
Right. Maybe there's more money over Aprilia. There's got to be more money. Like all he's got to do is just got to finish out and win it. Once he does that, we'll definitely get the money.
I will say,
Right.
if Jorge Martin does go to Aprilia, him and Maverick would be a great 1-2,
Right.
Or 1-1, whatever how you want to call it. But I think because both those guys, and not to say Aleix can't ride, I don't like. Well, as far as the future young riders, like Jorge Martin, I think would do wonders on that Aprilia. Bastianini, I don't know if Bastianini will struggle on Aprilia, but I think Jorge Martin will probably adapt to that bike easier than Bastianini. But we'll see.
We'll have to say.
Gotta stay tuned. So they're at Catalonia next round, which is in a few days. The standings pretty close. It's interesting, when you're looking at this. I mean, the first four bikes in the standing is Ducati, and then you skip, not skip, but then 5 is Aprilia, then two more Ducatis in how they finished the last round. But then also in the standings, overall championship is 4 Ducatis. Then you got Aprilia and a couple of KTM's.
Right. So maybe Maybe a push for Martin would be to go to KTM.
I think that he's a good enough rider that any one of those spots could work for him. You know what I'm saying? And the fact that I don't know if he's just, obviously you need work, so you can't just have all your eggs in one basket, as they say. So I can see them looking, but I think those guys would want to stay in Ducati because they're all quick. Again, I've said on the show already, I wouldn't care about the factory seats as much, but maybe the factory
Right, the
seats
bike's
is.
the bike.
Say again?
The bike's just the bike.
Yeah, at the end of the day, you got the same bike and everything. But for me, I would stay with Pramac. Like Marquez says he doesn't care what team he rides for, and so even and I've already said like even Marquez, like I said, I know you say he should get it, but he's the newest one to Ducati, so on some
Right.
levels, it's kind of like, all right, bro, hang out here another year. These guys been in front of you. They've been in the struggle a little bit more than you. The bike is the most refined it has been that you're hopping on. In 2019, the bike wasn't as refined as it is now.
Right. Also fine. Right.
You know what I'm saying? And so I do believe that, with that said, I think it should come down to the more senior Ducati riders, not MotoGP riders, but just senior Ducati riders.
Do we see 9-3 going back to Honda?
I think it depends. I mean, I think that would be, the thing is this, like Rossi synonymous with Yamaha, Troy
Right.
Bayliss with Ducati, so and Marquez up until this point was synonymous with Honda, and so I think for Marquez he has to win some titles, and then hopefully Ducati will start doing an anniversary bike for him. But it'll be difficult if he retires with Ducati and there's no anniversary Marquez bike. Because you see with Honda once Rossi left. I mean Rossi left on a different term. Honda don't even want to try to give him his old bikes that he won championships with, much less to sit here and say let's make a Rossi replica.
Right.
You know what I mean? So I think from that, from business perspective, that's the only thing for Marquez is just kind of like, okay, you stop racing in 5 years. What does the next 15, 20 years look like? Are you a brand ambassador for Honda? Are you a brand ambassador for Alpine Star? But there's no machinery that's doing a Marquez Repsol. Because when you think of Repsol, you think of Marquez. It's crazy.
Right.
I know Repsol been around before Marquez got to that seat.
Hey.
You know what I'm saying? The great Nicky Hayden and obviously Valentino Rossi and Pedrosa and all these other guys. You know what I mean? But when I think of in the last 10 years, when I think of Repsol, I think of Marquez.
There's a situation we have here right now. Let's say he doesn't win the championship, right? And he finished in second place. And the team stays as it is at Ducati. And we'll have no choice but to find somewhere else to go.
I think Marquez was
maybe the one that's going to leave is probably 93. Maybe 93 is the one that's going to leave.
I think he would stay because he suffered for them years without being
competitive. With a poor bike, right?
You know what I'm saying? And his injury. So I think for him, I don't think he cares. I think out of a respect of how motorcycle traditions and it's like unwritten rules, and maybe they're written rules. I have no access to those, but. I think that you find that you show respect to somebody who's been doing it longer. So sometimes you give them that bump. Not to say he doesn't deserve it.
No, right.
But like I said, Ducati's won back-to-back titles. They got bikes in the top 4 or 5. If it was they don't need a Marquez to sell motorcycles right now. You know what I'm saying?
He has to win, but 29 points or 37. It's a big hill to climb.
Yeah, it is. Well, I will say though, lots of people coming out to watch. Again, a lot of people came out to the Le Mans. I gotta assume the Cataluna is gonna be crazy. I know Mugello is gonna be crazy. It is definitely, you think of, Pedrosa and Rossi and these one-offs, now, you can have 10 10 different riders to choose from. And so your rider still has, your rider still has a chance for the most part. Maybe the Honda, Yamaha guys don't, but for everybody else, they all got a chance to, like the fan base is growing even more.
Right, and we go back to Spain, so it's gonna be. Oh no, I still think you should get the. I think you should get the seat.
All right, we're gonna have to leave it there, man. We're gonna have to leave it there. We're definitely gonna be locked in for Cataluna this weekend. So folks, stay tuned for the B4evaKool podcast with Shakes and I. We're gonna be commenting about the sprint and commenting about the race this weekend, and let's see if Marquez is closer to that title.
I'm gonna go right now on the line. He wins it.
He wins it on the line.
On the line.
Yeah, man. I mean, it's close. I'm not gonna say he win it yet. I'll let you know at Mugello.
Right. You have to be all in, right? You can't wait. You have to be in right now. You have to be 2 feet on the pegs, ass in the seat.
Yeah.
This is it.
Yes, this is it. But this is motorcycle racing at its finest right now. We even had a chance to talk about World Superbike and all the other stuff. Well, I will say this before we tap out. The women's championship that had their test earlier this week. I'm looking forward to seeing an all-female race class. On one hand, we do see women mixing up with the guys now, but at the world stage level, it's nice to have their own league. I don't think they need it per se, but for visual, for having eyes on them exclusively is cool to see, and hopefully there's gonna be some fun races to watch there.
I think that has the potential to be big.
I think so too.
Because of the culture of the sport in itself.
Exactly. And we love to go watch the motorcycle racing. All right, man. Well, like always, folks, like and subscribe. Want to thank everyone for who have been commenting and subscribing so far. We appreciate the love. And the more you do that, the more we have more content to bring. My name is Rex45. Talk to them, Bobby. Tell them how they can find you.
All right, you can find me at shakesislive.com. It's very simple. shakesislive.com. That's it. Anti-social media as of right now. Pushing all the traffic straight to the URL and see where we go.